Hello and welcome to this lesson on game theory. In this lesson, first let's take a look at the game theory matrix. We have Samsung here deciding whether they should raise the price or lower the price, and then Apple here whether they should raise the price, lower the price. And these are the profits that they would get, with the left side being Samsung's profits and the right side being Apple's profits. So, for example, if Samsung decides to make the price go higher, they'll get $100, and if Apple decides to make the price go higher, they get $50. So if they both decide to raise the price, Samsung will get $100 and Apple will get $50 of profit. Now, if Samsung decides to lower the price and Apple decides to raise the price, then Samsung will get $50 and Apple would get $40. If Samsung decides to raise the price and Apple decides to lower the price, then Samsung will get $60 and Apple will get $90. And if Samsung decides to lower the price and Apple decides to lower the price, Samsung will get $20 and Apple will get $10. Let's see which is the best um, combination to go with if you're Apple and if you're Samsung. So, first, let's do Samsung. First, we're going to try to think if Apple is going to raise the price, would you rather raise the price and get $100 at Samsung, or would you rather lower the price and get $50 at Samsung? So, since you would rather get $100 than 50, then if Apple makes the price higher, then Samsung would also want to make the price higher. So in this scenario, Samsung would make their price higher if Apple would to also go higher. Now on this side, if Apple were to lower their price, Samsung is thinking, should we raise the price and get $60 or should we lower the price and get $20? Well, if Apple lowers their price, Samsung would rather raise the price and get 60 than lower the price and get 20. So they would rather raise their price if Apple lowers their price. So we know for sure that Samsung would rather raise their price, because if Apple raises their prices, so will Samsung, because that's a better option for them. And if Apple lowers their prices, so will Samsung, because that's a better option for them. So Samsung should always go high to make the most profits. They're going to do this regardless of what Apple does. So if Apple goes high, they're going to go high. And if Apple goes low, they'll still go high. So Samsung has something called a dominant strategy. This is the best move to make regardless of what your opponents will do. Their dominant strategy is to go high both times. So they're going to go high. That's their dominant strategy. For Apple, let's look at what's happening. If Samsung decides to go high, they could raise their price and get $50, or they could lower their price and get 90. So if Samsung decides to go high, they would rather lower their price and get 90. Now, if Samsung decides to go low, they could raise their price and get 40, or lower their price and get 10. So if Samsung's going to go low, they would rather raise their price and get 40. For Apple, if Samsung goes high, then they should go low. And if Samsung goes low, then they should go high. Because there's not a clear cut strategy for them, their answer is going to depend on what Samsung does, so they do not have a dominant strategy. Now we're going to look at something called a Nash equilibrium. This is the optimal outcome when both players make simultaneous decisions and do not change them. Two things could happen. If one player, if at least one player has a dominant strategy, there's going to be one Nash equilibrium. If no one has a dominant strategy, then there's going to be multiple Nash equilibria. So here, we know that Samsung has a dominant strategy. They're always going to go high. Since Samsung is always going to go high, then Apple, knowing that Samsung's going to go high, or thinking that Samsung's going to go high, they would rather go low. So Samsung is going to end up going high and Apple is going to end up going low. This is the Nash equilibrium. And there's only one of them because Samsung has a dominant strategy. Samsung's profit is going to be $60, and Apple's profit is going to be $90 at this Nash equilibrium. That's all for this lesson. See you next time.